Tony Smith. I'm still at 1135 East 3rd Street. I just want to thank council for not passing the name change. And I just wanted to clarify, sometimes history is taken down by a bulldozer or a wrecking ball. And at other times, history is chipped away at slowly, until all of a sudden it's gone and nobody even knows what a name means. It's industry. It's our history. And you say it is not precedence. You've already not changed the name of a street from Founders Way to Steel Stacks Boulevard. It's already been done. I hope it continues, and I hope it grows. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grubb?
Danny Grubb, 2420 Henderson Place. I actually have prepared remarks, and so much has been happening at this meeting. I feel compelled to address some of the matters that have been discussed, and one other thing that came to my mind. First of all, thank you for not changing the name to Silvex Road, and certainly Councilwoman Dolan, I would never question your commitment to history. That wasn't my intent. I hope you understand that I was yanking your chain to all those other suggested name changes. As far as the Brockle Field, Mr. Shire made mention that he hasn't seen anybody on it. They cannot use the field for 1 year. They have to let it take hold before they can actually schedule and use any activities on it. So that's, if anybody's looking for activity on the field, you won't see it until next school year. And that's straight from the contractor. Regarding Liberty High School and the traffic issues, if you have occasion to travel on the turnpike, the interstate, anytime you approach a construction area and there's a state cop car sitting there with its lights flashing, it is amazing how traffic becomes very, very orderly and meets the speed limit as you enter into a construction area. There may be other ways to go about doing it. There were some other good suggestions. But those flashing lights on a state police cruiser on an interstate highway where construction's underway, people comply. And so there may be some strength to that methodology during, after, before athletic contests at Liberty High School and elsewhere in the community. Just food for thought. Regarding the trash and the rumored proposal, when I was with the city, we began looking at zone collection, and now I recognize the faces. One of the things that I firmly believed in that process was to get the haulers engaged. And if this is going to advance in any fashion, I think it's a huge mistake if the city administration does not bring the haulers, and I'm talking all of them, and we had, I'm going to guess, maybe 2, 3, 4 different meetings as we discussed that concept of zoning collection in Bethlehem to try to make enforcement and the impact in neighborhoods in order to lessen it. But you need to listen to these guys, and you need to understand what their issues are as haulers, and get them all in a room, make sure they're invited. And I'm not talking at the final hearing before council, I'm talking at in the process leading up to it, so that they can weigh in and offer constructive suggestions along the way, voice their concerns, and if they feel strongly in opposition to something, get it aired out before it shows up here in this context. So that's something I would strongly urge the administration to do. And if council has any influence on the administration, that you encourage it as well. Last weekend when I was downtown doing the weekly Question of the Week column that I do for a local newspaper, one of the people I stopped who actually didn't participate was a law enforcement officer, and this is for everybody's information, but it's a compliment I want to pass along to the commissioner. This gentleman and his wife happened to be visiting Bethlehem. They were here during Celtic Classic, liked Bethlehem that much, they wanted to return. But as I do with many of the folks I end up stopping, whether they participate or not, we started talking about law enforcement and just all sorts of issues. And I don't think that people in Bethlehem realize the impact that the gang arrests had elsewhere in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And this police officer informed me that that had a tremendous ripple effect into their area. And he was a police officer from suburban Philadelphia, as a matter of fact, and was extremely complimentary of the efforts of local law enforcement officials in the Bethlehem area, and the impact not only that he understood that it had in the Bethlehem area, but that it had throughout probably eastern Pennsylvania, maybe even into western Pennsylvania. It sent a message. And based on my discussion with him, he was extremely appreciative as a law enforcement officer for the initiative that took place in the Lehigh Valley and Bethlehem in particular, and the impact and the benefit that it had for other law enforcement agencies in the Commonwealth. And I just wanted to pass that along because I think we kind of circle the wagons and look at Bethlehem, but sometimes things that happen in Bethlehem have much broader implications. And I wanted to pass along that thought because I think it was a real compliment to the efforts that were made. I'll address my other issue at another time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fenning?
Robert Penning, 2830 Linden Street. First, the table games numbers for September came in, and for the budget, we seem to have a $194.5 thousand shortfall because the table games revenue nowhere came in as originally projected. However, as I mentioned to Mr. Reichard before the meeting, that's a 2.7% shortfall on the budget, and even cruise liners bump the docks as they come in, so I don't think that's all that bad. I think something nice. Continuing, the other thing came in recently, the Las Vegas Sands Corporation announced their third quarter results. Property EBITDA through the end of the third quarter year to date was $39,450,000. Remember, Sheldon Adelson's 100 to 125 million per year goal. Probably won't act on that now. He wants to see how the hotel comes along, maybe the event center, but he's got a little ways to go. During the break, one of the councilmen suggested that I get a life, but I don't have one, so instead I go to meetings. Gaming Revenue Authority, Northampton County Gaming Revenue Authority. When that was formed, the town appointed Assistant Solicitor Joe Kelly to serve as the Bethlehem representative. Unless you folks tune into the online production in the sense of those meetings and view it online, I think you should know that you would be proud of Mr. Kelly's performance as a member of that authority and as he's representing the city, and hopefully Mr. Spurk, his boss, will pass on to him the fact that Mr. Kelly's doing a real good job serving on that authority. The other authority I've adopted for my lifetime is the Bethlehem Redevelopment Authority. At their last meeting, they adopted a resolution saying pending the completion of the financing and everything being in order, once that happens, they will take over about 9 contracts from Bedco. One of the contracts dated, I find this whole thing curious, that's all, I'm just raising the curiosity. A contract dated April 1st of '09 was to hire Mr. Greg Feinberg to provide project management services. Now that's 19 months ago. And I certainly have no quibbles with the professional performance of Mr. Feinberg as I've witnessed in some other public meetings. But I thought it was interesting that when I read his online biography, that he has served as the treasurer of Arts Quest Foundation, the Architectural Selection and Development Committee and Construction Advisory Committee for the Arts Quest Performing Arts Center at the former Bethlehem Steel site, and is chairman of the Steel Stacks Finance Committee. He's also well known for throwing very effective political fundraisers where former presidents show up. Here is public, I guess Bedco. Bedco seems to be this mysterious thing floating around out there. I understand its funding came from some sale from property, so I think it's sort of public funds. Bedco has not filed their 990s for the recent years. Those were federal tax forms. They've gotten a little bit of heat for that. They have not had any audits or something. There's one in progress. But since it's probably public funds, I find it curious that public funds are being expended on a project, steel stacks and environs, without any public discussion, approval of any form until about 2 months ago, or less, when the actual agreement was, and that became sort of an approval. So I find it curious that public funds are being expended this far in advance on a project that was not approved by, discussed, or whatever before the public. Just curiosity. Final thing regarding the redevelopment authority. During all the public presentations I attended on the TIF financing and what the council was told when they passed the rebate agreement, total financing package was $27 million. Redevelopment Authority floated an RFP for $27.6 million. So my question to council is, what's the other $600,000 going to be used for that we don't know about, at least in terms of prior presentations?
Mr. Riker.
Yeah, no, Mr. DiGiacinto's ahead of me on that. He memoed us a week or 10 days ago about that. I referred that to the Redevelopment Authority and to their bond council in Philadelphia. And frankly, we're going to be in the process of getting a response to him.
Thank you, Mr. Spark. I knew Mr. DiGiacinto would be on top of things, even if he's a horrible life counselor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?